today. All right, so our practice circle quiz. Here we go. There's 2 problems of each, so we'll get lots of practice. So number 1, we need to find the center and the radius. Okay? So what do? Who remembers from yesterday? We rearrange. Pay close attention, people, because in a little while we're not going to be practicing. We're going to be doing it for real.
Today?
So we're going to put these together. Notice I am leaving a blank in there, right? Jalen, turn around. Start writing this down. You're practicing. Okay, so I group my X's together. I group my Y's together. The 6's over there. I put a couple blanks over there. Everybody okay so far?
We get 14.
Oh, it's in the problem. I am on the back side of the front page where it says practice quiz circles, and I am doing that problem. Now, what happens next? I complete the square, and that means I look at the plane X and do what with it? No, I don't take square root of it. I take half of it and square it. So half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. Make sure you add it to both sides. Okay? Now, do the same thing with the Y's. Half of 14 is 7, and 7 squared is 49. Both sides. Now, this grouping right here needs to be changed into a parentheses squared. So what will the parentheses be? Obviously x minus 2. Very good. That's a minus, so this is going to be a minus. So x minus 2. Plus, now we're going to do the same thing with this grouping. So what's this one? Obviously y minus 7, because 7 squared is 49. And then I'll add all that up, and that just gives me 59. So now I should be able to tell my center and my radius. That was our goal. We need the center and the radius. So where's my center? 2, 7. Remember, we do the opposite of the parentheses. So it's 2, 7. And what is my radius? Square root of 59. And that problem is finished. All right, anybody have a question about one of the numbers up there? Okay, so now we'll do the next one, which is exactly the same kind of problem. Find the center and the radius. So what are you going to do first when you look at this one? Got to move it around a little bit. So we'll have x squared plus 10x. We'll put a blank. Now wait a minute. This one doesn't have another y term. So that's, yeah, it's already done, but I do have to move the 4 to the other side. That 4 needs to be over on the other side. You got your x's together over here, you got your y's together over here, but there's no room for that number. He has to go over. All right, now, what's going to go in this blank? I hear a 25 up here in the front row, is that right? How do we know it's 25? Half of 10 squared. 3. Once you do that, once you fill in that blank, that makes a group. So that grouping has to be something squared. Obviously, it's going to be x plus, what, 5? Now, this one doesn't have anything to group with it, so it just stays y squared. And 29 when you add those. Now, what's the center of this one going to be? -5, 0. Right. Remember, if there's nothing added or subtracted to it, it stays 0. The y part just is 0. The x part is the opposite of this, so it's -5. And my radius is the square root of 29. Now, the problems at the bottom, we didn't really talk about yesterday. And you're going to have to do this on your quiz. So let's see if we can figure this out. It's backwards. I'm giving you the center and the radius, and I'm asking you to come up with the equation. So, Judah, what do you think that is? Perfect. Absolutely beautifully done. That's it. Because if we found this equation somewhere, we would look at it and say, the center is -4, +3, right? And the radius is the square root of 36, which is 6. Perfect. What about the next one? 0, -2 is our center, and the radius is the square root of 19. What is that equation going to look like? Jalen?
X squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 19.
Exactly. Now, sometimes kids prefer to say x minus 0 squared, and that's perfectly all right. So if you feel more comfortable actually putting the 0 in, you can. You don't need to, because if it's just a plain x squared, doesn't that clue you in that it's a 0? You can do +2. Okay, so either one of these would be absolutely fine, because the center is at 0, -2, and the radius is the square root of 19. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you one of each to do right now with your partner to compare answers. I'll put the answers up here on the board. Make sure you got it right, but you're going to do 2 things. So you're going to find the center and the radius of x squared plus y squared minus 10x plus 12y minus 7 equals 0. So find the center and the radius for that equation. And then you're going to write the equation. If the center is -4, -2, and the radius is 10. All right, so right now with your friend, the guy who sits next to you or the girl who sits next to you, do this, help each other.
What is it? Yeah.
All right, you should have these about done.
That's what I got for the first one.
All right, here we go. X squared minus 10x. Y squared plus 12y. All right, everybody okay so far? Boys, we're going to take a quiz in about 2 minutes. Huh? I made these up.
25.
So I need a 25 here, and I need a 36 here. Because half of 10 is 5, squared is 25, and half of 12 is 6, squared is 36. So these make x minus 5 squared. These make y plus 6 squared. And all of that makes 68. So your center should be at 5, negative 6. How many got that center? Ooh, that's not very many. And your radius is the square root of 68, which breaks down into 2 root 17. Yes, if your radius reduces, you need to reduce it. That's an answer, so you always want to have your answers be in reduced form. Any question about that? All right, now this is the backwards. This is come up with the equation, so you want to write something that looks like this. So what's it going to be for this one, Zion?
X plus 4 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals square root of 10.
Not the square root of 10. It actually equals 100. Because if this was your equation, to find the radius, you would square root that number. So the square root of that number is the radius. Okay? So another way to think about it, Zion, is you're exactly right. You've got a quantity x squared. You got a quantity y squared. This is r squared. So it's r squared. So it's 100. So there's the equation. How many got that equation right? All right. Let's put all that away. We're going to do it for real now.
Get a birthday bonus?
If we have a birthday bonus, we'll have a birthday bonus.
Mine's next month.
Yours is in the summer?
Yeah.
Yep, if we haven't used it, we can use it, but we only use one. You only get one.
Have you asked one?
May 24th.
No, have you asked one before?
No, I haven't used one.
Oh, sweet. Evan has a birthday
I
bonus.
haven't used one.
Okay, we can use it today if we haven't used it yet.
Wait, Corey, we haven't used yours, so we got yours more prayer.
Emma, are you 6 with her? Huh? I don't want you to sleep with the class. If you're sick, we'll send you to the nurse. Huh? Well, Evan was gonna use this, you guys need to duke it out, I don't care who uses it. Is today your birthday? It was last Tuesday.
We'll use hers.
Okay. Yep, just gonna hand it out to these last people here. Saving the best for last. The very best for last.
Yeah.
right, here we go. Here comes your bonus question.
0 plus 0.
Oh, shoot.
When you're done, bring it up, put it in the plate. All right, let's go, guys.
Come on now. So do I.
Okay, let's be turning those in. Let's get our notes out. And let's pick up where we left off.
It's like
No,
13,
yesterday.
24, 15.
Okay, so let's go, man.
Does that make sense?
Here we go.
Probably without paying attention.
We're back on the notes.
Back in our notes. Yep, we're back in our notes. We are on page 54, and we're picking up right where we stopped yesterday. You know, this is right, not an eraser on the desk. And if you want to take a picture of these notes and put them into Notability, Jalen, you can.
Are we in?
So we are on page 54, and we're on problem 2C, right down at the bottom. And our job is to find the vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width. Now these are things we talked about yesterday, but it's brand new, some of it to you, so let's go through it kind of carefully again. All right. Anybody want to take a wild guess where the vertex is? I heard -1, 2. That's not quite right. +2, -1. When I write my ordered pair, I have to have x, comma, y. So even though the equation is written in a different order, I still have to put x before y. Does that make sense to you? So my vertex is at 2, -1. There's my vertex. Now, before I can find this other stuff, I have to know which way the thing opens. So yesterday I had you write on your paper that if it is x squared positive, it's up, and negative, it's down. If it's y squared positive, it's right, and negative, it's left. So when I look at my equation, it's y squared, and it's a positive number. So what does that mean?
Right.
It opens to the right. So this parabola is opening to the right. Now, you may not totally understand what the focus is, and that's fine. But you do know where it is. It's inside the curve, so it's in here somewhere, right? That's where it is. It's in there. So we're going to start at this point, which is 2, -1, and we are going to walk that far to get our focus. So we're going to go straight this direction to get our focus. Now, I can figure out that green point if I know how far to walk. If you tell me how many steps to take, I can tell you where I'm going to end up. How do I find out how many steps to take?
It's half of it.
No, it's not half of 4. It's actually no.
4P.
4P equals 4. 4P equals that number. This is always 4P. It's always 4P equals that number. So 4P equals 4, which means P equals 1, and P is how many steps I take. So I want you to start at this point right here and take 1 step straight to the right. Where will you end up if you take 1 step? At 3, -1. Does that make sense to everyone?
So the equation's always 4P.
Always 4P. Now that number might be different, so it might be 4P equals 6 or something. The distance from the vertex to the focus. I don't know why they call it P, they just do. There's probably a reason, I just don't know what it is. Google it. Now, if I marched forward 1 step to put my focus, then I'm going to go backward 1 step to put my directrix. Now remember, the directrix is a line. X equals 1. Very good, Kennedy. Now, let's talk about how she got 1. Remember, this is your starting point. The black one is my starting point. That's at 2, -1. So she backed up 1 unit. Can you see how this point would be 1, -1? But she didn't want a point. She wanted the whole line. So it crosses the x-axis at 1. So it's the x equals 1 line. That's your directrix. And then the last part's easy. We need the focal width. What's the focal width? No, the focal width is 4P. That's the focal width. That number is the focal width. Come on, guys, we talked about this yesterday. Take some notes. The focal width is just that number.
I just said 4P.
4P is the focal width, and 4P is 4.
So
No, P is 1. The focal width is the whole thing, is 4P. So, that tells you how fat your parabola is. In this parabola, that width right there would be 4. So obviously, the bigger that number is, the fatter your parabola is. All right, let's try the next one. Same thing. Okay, so we're going to find our focus. No, first we're gonna find our vertex. Sorry. First we're gonna find our vertex. Where's our vertex? 3, 1. Very good. Everybody get 3, 1 for your vertex. Your vertex, 3, 1. Look at the parentheses. Do the opposite, just like you do for a circle. Make sure it's x, y. Which way is it open? Down. Very good. How do we know it opens down?
Negative.
Because it's x squared and it's negative. So x squared negative is down. Now that means that my focus is going to be down here. Would you agree with that? So I'm going to start at my vertex and go straight down. Right? How many am I going to go down? I'm going to go down 2. So 4p is 8, so p is 2. Now some of you are saying, well, I thought it was negative. Okay, negative means down. I'm going down 2 units. So I don't care if you say 2 or negative 2. It doesn't matter. We need to figure out what this point is. So we're going to go down 2 units. So if we start right here and go straight down 2 units, you're going straight down 3, negative 1. Very good. That's going to be 3, negative 1. I am going to have graph paper on your test and quiz so you can actually count if you want. Now that's my focus. I came down 2, so that's my focus. Now, if I came down 2 for the focus, I'm going to go up 2 for the directrix. Now, if I were labeling that point, it would be 3, 3. But I'm not looking for the point, I'm looking for the line which intersects the y-axis, so it's y equals 3. That's your directrix. What's our focal width? Be careful.
8.
Just 8. Well, because it's a width, it's a distance. And would I ever say something was negative 8 wide? No, that's goofy. What does the negative do? The only thing the negative does is tell me to move, to go down. Yep, to open down. That's what the negative's for.
So you add for the, like, you add it to the...
In this case, because I'm going up. If I were going down, I would subtract. It just depends. That's why the picture is so helpful. If you're going up, you're going to add it on. If you're going down, you're going to subtract it. But the important thing to remember is, Jack, that if you went down 2, you're going to go up 2. Because it's always the same amount in each direction. Well, joyous good news. There's one more. Let's see how we do with this one. All right, here we go. First of all, if you found this equation laying out in the hallway somewhere, would you recognize it as a parabola?
Yeah.
How? It's only one squared term. Think about the quiz you just took. Didn't the quiz have an x squared and a y squared?
Yes.
That's what circles have. Parabolas have only an x squared or a y squared. All right, Malcolm, where's the vertex of this guy? Be careful. It's always x, y. So it's going to have to be negative 1, 1. That's a really common mistake, and it happens with hyperbolas also. It's negative 1, 1. Always make sure you have x first. So that's my vertex. Is everybody okay with that? All right, which way is it open?
Left.
Right.
I hear a right and I hear a left.
Right. Left.
Left. It's negative, it's left. Left.
What do you see?
It's
Right.
Okay, this is the number that controls it. Is that a positive or a negative number?
Positive, right?
That's positive. So it's going to open to the right. The coefficient, not the vertex, the coefficient is what controls that. You'll survive. It could be a whole lot worse.
True. Could be 40.
Or you could be in a class that's not as much fun as this one.
True. Also true.
All right. Now I'm ready to put my focus in here. So I know it's in here somewhere. Would you agree with that? So I'm going to go straight to the right. And I just need to figure out how far to the right I'm going to go. So to decide that, I'm going to look at this number I circled. And I'm going to say 4P is that number. So P is 4. That's how many steps I take. So I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And where am I going to end up if I go 1, 2, 3, 4? Where? 3, 1. That's exactly right. If you start at -1 and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to be at 3. Now on graph paper, that'll be easier because you can actually count the blocks. Now if we counted 4 blocks to the right for the focus, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks to the left, right? And that is going to be my directrix, which is going to be where? We started at -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So that's going to be x equals -5. That's my directrix. It's x equals, because, well, first of all, I'm counting left and right, but that line intersects the x-axis. So it's an x equals line. What's my focal width? 16. Okay. There are some homework problems posted if you want to do some extra practice, or you can redo these if you'd like. I don't see you tomorrow, do I? No. So won't be back at this until Thursday. All right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is the backwards. So let's see how much of this makes sense to us. So we've got several different parabola problems here that we need to figure out. We need to write an equation. Now I want you to stop a minute and think about the equations that we've started with.
This y is y squared.
Okay, so the equations that we've started with, look at all of them, have had some, on this side they've had something squared. And then over here, they've had a number like 16 or -4 or something, and then another parentheses that isn't squared. So the setup for the equations has been like this all the time. Now, in each parentheses, you're going to have either an x or a y. And what do we know about the importance of the one that's squared? The one that's squared tells me which way it opens. So if this one opens to the right, what does that tell me? It's y squared. So y's in this one and x is in this one. Does that make sense to everybody? If it opens to the right, it has to be a y squared. Furthermore, therefore, since it opens to the right, whatever this number is, I know it's going to end up being positive. I don't know what it is yet, but I know it will be positive, right? Now I know my vertex. Does that help me out in my equation?
Yeah.
Yes. This goes with the x, be careful. So it's going to be x minus 3. And this goes with the y, so it'll be plus 2. Is that right? Now the only thing I don't know is that number right there, right? I don't know what that is. So for the time being, I'm just going to call it A. I don't know what that is. I don't want to call it X because I already have an X. If you want to call it N or something, it doesn't matter. Call it something. I don't know what it is. But I do know that when I draw this parabola, the 0.51 is on it. So if X is 5, then Y has to be 1. Do you see what I'm doing? Here's my equation so far, but I know that that point is on the equation. So if I put 5 in for X and 1 in for Y, that equation has to work. Can I figure out my A from this now?
Yeah.
I sure can. So 1 plus 2 is 3 squared is 9. And 5 minus 3 is 2. I don't square that one, it's just 5 minus 3. So A equals 9 halves. So the answer to the question is y plus 2 squared equals 9 halves x minus 3. 4.5 is fine. Nope, you don't have to do anything but write the equation. You never have to draw it. I always draw them to help me, but you never have to draw it. Right. Let's try the next one. These are a little bit tricky. That's why it's important that you try to stay focused and pay attention. Oh my goodness, guys, look at this one. All they gave us is the vertex and the focus. Oh boy. Remember, our format is this. When we write our equations, or when we get a parabola, you've got a parentheses squared, and then you've got a number and another parentheses. Oh my gosh, I have no idea where to start. I'm going to draw a picture of this. So that's the vertex, and 0, -3 is the focus. All right, now pay attention. This is my vertex, and this is my focus. So knowing what you know about the relationship of the focus to the vertex, doesn't it have to open this way, guys?
Yeah. Yep.
Now what, that tells me lots. What does that tell me?
Y.
It tells me y is being squared, and that number is negative, right? Now I know my vertex, so y plus 3, x minus 2, make sure you get those numbers in the right spot. X has to go with x, y has to go with y. This is the point 2, -3, and this is the point 0, -3. How far apart are they? 2? So that's P. P is 2. So this number has to be a -8. Why does that number have to be an 8? Because this number is always 4P. And if we know P is 2, then 4P has to be 8. And we knew it was negative because it's opening to the left. Pretty cool. One more. One more. Hang in there. You're doing great. Except for Emma, who's sound asleep. Emma, you are not wide awake. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is weird. We have no idea about it. You have an early dismissal?
Yeah.
All right, take that with you. Check out in the front office. Thank you. So I know my format is this. I got something squared equal to a blank and then a parentheses that's not squared. I have no idea. I'm going to draw a picture of this.
No, there's no.
So my vertex is at 1, 2. That's my vertex. And my directrix is at y equals 1. So this is my directrix. That was given to me, y equals 1. This is my vertex.
So it's an X.
Which way does this thing open? Up. Very good. Kids, you have to have a feeling for that. It has to open around its focus and away from its directrix. So the only way it could possibly open is up. Because any other way it opened, it would touch its directrix, and it can't. So what does that tell me? Opening up, right there. Important information. X is squared, and this number is positive. So now can I fill in these parentheses? X minus 1, y minus 2. Just remember to get X with X and Y with Y. Now, I obviously came down 1 to get my directrix. So if I had done my focus, I would have gone up 1. So P is 1. If P is 1, then this number, which is 4P, has to be 4. If P is 1, then 4P is 4, and that number is always 4P. The number in the equation is always 4P.
So we should just multiply the source by.
No, you multiply P by 4. And P is the distance to the focus. So as soon as I figured out the distance to the focus was 1, which is the same as the distance to the directrix, so you can use that too. I multiply that by 4.
Wait, so you do that for the focal one too, or is that just that number?
What?
The focal one, if you multiply that by 3, is that just that number?
This, okay, so this distance right here is 1.
Yeah.
That's P. So P is 1. P is the distance. My equation requires me to have 4P. So if P is 1, then 4 times P would be 4. And that's the number that goes in the equation. The number that goes in the equation is 4 P's.
Okay, so but if that was like the original equation, is that the focal width right there is 4?
4 is the focal width.
Okay.
Yep, 4 is the focal width. 8 would be the focal width in this one.
4. It's 4 0 for Joe.
Okay, I knew that. That's good though. Thank you for telling me. That's good. You're here just in time to do a practice problem. Actually, I want to save these for tomorrow. So I'm going to give you a made-up problem. Okay, Judah, I'm making this up. We're going to run through one more example. Next time we're together, we'll do some practice and then take a quiz over this. So let's do one more problem. So x minus 2 squared equals negative 20 y plus 3. All right. This is a practice problem. It is a separate made-up problem. It's not on any sheet. And our job is to find the vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width. These two are gimmies. These two you can get just from eyeballing the equation. Where's my vertex? 2, negative 3. What's my focal width? 20. Done. That part's done. This number is always the focal width positive. It's a distance, a width, so it's positive. Now, to get the focus and the directrix, you don't have to draw a picture, but I surely think it helps to have a picture. The vertex is at 2, negative 3. Which way do I open? Down. And very good. I know I open down because I'm x squared and negative. So this is what my parabola looks like. That means that to get my focus, I'm going to come straight down, right? Now, how many am I going to come down in this problem? 5. A lot. This number right here, this 20, is always 4p. So think of that number as 4p. So p is 5. That's how many I'm coming down. So if I start here and come down 5, which is a lot, where will I be? Where will that point be?
2, negative 8.
2, negative 8. Very, very good. That is your focus. Now, if I came down 5 for the focus, I'm going to go up 5 for the directrix, and it's going to be y equals 2. Those of you that said y equals 2, you are exactly right. I'm going up, so it's a y, and I went up 5 from negative 3, so that puts me at 2. Y equals 2. That is a practice problem. Next time we're together, we'll do a couple of more. Again, you do have some homework problems you can practice. You can redo these if you want to practice.